This is the iconic moment Gerry Conlon walked free from prison 25 years ago. Convicted of a crime he did not commit, Gerry Conlon, one of the so-called Guildford Four, spent over a decade behind bars, accused of killing 5 people and injuring 65 in the 1974 Guildford IRA pub bombing. In 1989, his conviction was quashed.
I'm a totally innocent man. I watched my father die in a British prison for something he didn't do.
The 60-year-old from West Belfast died at home following a lengthy illness. In a statement, his family said, "This morning we lost our Gerry. He brought life, love, intelligence, wit and strength to our family through its darkest hours. What he achieved by fighting for justice for us has a far, far greater importance. We believe it changed the course of history."
He came out damaged, but he came out a great and big person who campaigned relentlessly against miscarriage of justice and who brought into the life of all those he met wit and wisdom and insight and resilience. He was a great person and he will be greatly missed.
In 2005, the then Prime Minister Tony Blair was forced to apologise.
I'm very sorry that they were subject to such an ordeal and such an injustice. That's why I'm making this apology today. They deserve to be completely and publicly exonerated.
Gerry Conlon's story was turned into the Oscar-nominated film In the Name of the Father, with Daniel Day-Lewis playing the young West Belfast man. No one has ever been convicted of the bomb attack.
The 19th of October 1989, Gerry Conlon walks free from prison after serving 15 years for a crime he never committed.
I've been in prison 15 years for something I didn't do.
In November 1974, the then 20-year-old was arrested for his supposed part in the IRA pub bombings in Guildford, which killed 5 people and injured 65. Conlon had never been to Guildford, but along with 3 others, Paul Hill, Carol Richardson and Paddy Armstrong, he was jailed after police fabricated confessions. Conlon's father Giuseppe was also imprisoned as part of a group known as the Maguire 7. He died in prison 5 years later. In 1989, the Court of Appeal quashed the convictions of the Guildford Four. An investigation found serious flaws in the way Surrey police had handled the case.
My father died in a British prison for something he didn't do. He is innocent, the Maguires is innocent. Let's hope that Birmingham thinks innocent.
After finally gaining his freedom, Conlon campaigned tirelessly for the Birmingham Six, but he found it difficult to cope with life after prison.
I've been in treatment for nearly 7 years, seeing a psychiatrist, a trauma counsellor, for twice a week. And for the first 3 years, all I did was cry. I couldn't get over when he mentioned my father or a certain prison. I would just burst into tears. The trauma was so deep.
In 2005, 16 years after their release, an apology came.
There was a miscarriage of justice in the case of Gerry Conlon and all the Guildford Four, as well as Giuseppe Conlon and Annie Maguire and all of the Maguire 7.
But Gerry Conlon's fight didn't end there, and he continued to highlight cases of injustice right up until his death.
My heart goes out to his family. This was a huge miscarriage of justice that Giuseppe, his father, and Gerry were imprisoned. He was very active on prisoners' issues and on miscarriage of justice issues, both in Ireland and in Britain.
Rather than seeking revenge or seeking retribution for the injury that was done to him, he said about making sure that it didn't happen to anybody else.
Gerry Conlon's family said today that his fight had forced the world's closed eyes to be opened to injustice.
Striding to freedom after years in jail, Gerry Conlon was a victim of one of the most serious miscarriages of justice in British history.
I've been in prison 15 years for something I didn't do, for something I didn't know anything about. Totally innocent man.
He and 3 others had been jailed for life for carrying out the Guildford pub bombings in 1974, which left 5 dead and dozens injured. The prisoners became known as the Guildford Four and always insisted they'd been framed. They were released in 1989. 16 years later, they received a formal apology from the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair.
I'm very sorry that they were subject to such an ordeal and such an injustice.
I didn't do that.
In the 1990s, the story was made into an Oscar-nominated film, In the Name of the Father. Mr. Conlon used his high profile to campaign on behalf of other victims of injustice. A politician and friend paid tribute to his work.
He didn't cry about his own situation. He basically set out to make sure that others didn't suffer the same horrible fate that he had suffered.
But his own years in prison haunted Mr. Conlon.
You don't come out of prison after that length of time and just blend in with society. It does take a lot of getting used to. And I really haven't got used to it. I still wake up sweating.
After his death in Belfast this morning, Gerry Conlon's relatives issued a statement saying he brought life, love, intelligence, wit and strength to our family through its darkest hours. They went on, we recognise that what he achieved by fighting for justice for us had a far, far greater importance. It forced the world's closed eyes to be opened to injustice. Mr. Conlon's family said they believed he had changed the course of history.